What to ask for newly vacated apartments. Back in the day, landlords would often make deep cuts to rents when the market started to soften. Now, pricing systems have calculated that some landlords could earn more money by pushing up rents, even if that brought about higher vacancy rates. Pricing systems from two companies, RealPage and Yardi Systems, are used by most landlords who choose this route. Recent lawsuits against the companies contend that their rent pricing systems facilitate collusion among some of the country's biggest apartment owners. It's big data versus the little guy again. I'm Ken.
Whether you rent or own a home, we all likely have nightmare stories about home maintenance, or what I like to call home cringe moments. Join me, your host, Katie Shahan, for the Yarlow Home Cringe Show. See what home cringe-worthy stories we have for you each week as we talk with local home service pros. Learn best practices for winterizing your home or what to look for after a hailstorm. Listen to the Yarlow Home Cringe Show every Sunday at 2 p.m. or on your favorite podcast app.
This is Chad, owner of AM 950, here to tell you about the exterior construction company I trust, Snap Construction. If your home was hit with the most recent storms, trust the most well-reviewed exterior construction company, Snap Construction, for a free home inspection.
This is Ryan, owner of Snap Construction. There are a lot of great construction companies in town. My advice is to take your time and do your research. Make sure they are locally owned and that they guarantee their craftsmanship for life. Also, you want to find a company that's been in business for at least 10 years. You want to work with a company that's going to be there long after the work is done. Snap Construction has handled thousands of claims, and we'll help you through the process.
Don't go with the out-of-town, fly-by-night contractor. Most storm damage goes missed by the untrained eye. Trust Snap Construction for your free storm damage evaluation. For your free storm damage evaluation, call Snap Construction at 612-333-SNAP or visit them online at snapconstruction.com. That's 612-333-SNAP or snapconstruction.com.
Temperatures are cooling off and fall migration is underway. Do you know what that means? Eagle viewing season is almost here, and the National Eagle Center is your headquarters for information and experiences. This winter, experience bald and golden eagles in the wild with an unforgettable expert-led field trip. Plan your private eagle habitat tour and learn where the best eagle viewing is with weekly eagle counts. Plus, you can visit the eagles at the center all season long. Plan your visit or experience today online at nationaleaglecenter.org.
You know how it is with vacuum cleaners. You buy them, you break them, then you throw them away, right? Well, not necessarily. Often, fixing your vacuum can be cheaper than replacing it. Ever heard of A1 Vacuum in Roseville? They offer free estimates. So if you wish your vacuum worked like new again, drop by. A1 Vacuum is ready to help clean up your vacuum cleaner act. Find us at a-1vacuum.com or call 651-222-6316.
Why must the world be so cold? They've gone against what was told. Thinking rape is cool? Think about it. They think it's not wrong. Violence against women, the rape, the abuse, the emotional, physical, they all hold the hate. Think about it. Is it right or wrong? What attracts you? I'm not saying no names, but you laugh. Talk about it like nothing is wrong. Think about it. They all hold the hate. Gotta stop the violence. Stop the hate. Think about it.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded. Good morning, and welcome to Connections Radio Show, where we talk about ideas that matter. I'm glad you've made the connection and are with us today. I'm Lori Fitz, your host, and the goal of our show is to explore a wide range of topics that challenge us to see ourselves, our community, and the world around us in ways that get us thinking, get us talking, get us imagining, and get us connected. And perhaps inspired or challenged to do just a bit more because we've made that connection. So our topic today is women, culture, the stories about us, finding the humor, and discovering our own stories. Hosting with me today is Rick Bernardo. And he has invited a very special guest, and I'm going to let Rick do the formal introductions.
I will be formal and wear a tuxedo even if I have to. But I'm still Rick, and we've got with us Gina Barreca, with whom we had some good laughs and all kinds of deeper insights on a program a number of months ago. And she had just released a book, Fast Fallen Women, at the time, and it's part of a series of books about fast women. and they're beautiful. They're anthologies, basically, that she's edited from various authors. But a little more about Gina. She was called by People magazine smart and funny, and by Ms. magazine the feminist humor maven. And I first met her because I wanted to meet her after I saw a book many years ago that was called, they used to call me Snow White, but I drifted. And I thought, I got to meet this person. So good morning, Gina.
Hello. I'm so delighted to be with both of you again. What a treat.
Absolutely. We're delighted to have you back. So how is Fast Fallen Women doing?
It actually did beautifully. It got to number 3 in new releases on Amazon.
Oh,
and
congratulations.
thank you. And even more crucially or vitally to me, it sold out of all of the initial copies bought by the Independent Booksellers Association that sell through bookshop.org. So they had to go back and reorder right away. And so I think it has captured the imagination of a lot of readers. And of course, that's what, that's what's important. It's tapped into a place where people feel they need to read their stories, tell their stories. And as you said, the important thing is about making connections. And I think that people have connected through this book. This is the 3rd in the series of Fast Women books that I've done. But it's really done better than the first 2, which were Fast Funny Women and then Fast Fierce Women. And I think that the books are getting better all the time. I think we're getting better at learning how to do them. And as the editor of the series of getting people, but this, this book included new and original pieces by Amy Tan, Caroline Levitt, Jane Smiley, Darian Huji, by well-known and established important writers. And we're accompanied by writers who are 20 to 87, but who have never seen their work in print before. And that's part of what I like to do, is to put very established, significant, already well-known voices right next to the emerging voices. And so
when you ask them to be part of the book and to submit their essay, do you give them like a prompt of tell your story, or tell your story about how you're a fallen woman, or
I tell them the title. I mean, it's like Fast Fallen Women. How do you define fallen? And one of the really fun, surprising parts about the book is that 75 women, you have 75 different versions of what counts as fallen. And so not only the sort of Eve in the garden, or leading to the fall of all of mankind. I mean, men fall, but because women have tempted them, right? I mean, we always get the tough part here.
We're
women
the instigators of the fall.
We just have to eat everything, right? I mean, and so you put something in front of us. I mean, it wasn't even a pie; it was just the plain apple, and that's how you go. And that's how you know that God is a man. People come up to me and go, "Don't, as a feminist, you think God is female?" I'm going, absolutely not. No female God would have said, "Here's a beautiful piece of fruit, don't touch it." That we would have said, "Look, this is a natural form of sugar. You can use it to clean your teeth. You can eat it raw with some cheese. You can bake it into a pie. You could stuff it with figs. You could." No. A male God says, "Here's this, don't eat it. Here's your first test."
The forbidden.
Yeah, exactly. It's forbidden. It contains knowledge and it's forbidden.
Yeah,
So
and I think it's good that we're questioning into, so you're going to keep knowledge from me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So this is kind of a test, as like whether I'm worthy enough for knowledge.
No, this is like, nah, come on, honey. This has nothing to do with you. Oh, honey, just put it back. Oh, don't ask questions. Oh, sweetheart, this is above your pay grade. Yeah.
Yeah. So without the knowledge, and nobody knows is how do I know this if this is even okay?
Right. Right. And so we're going back to that version of the fallen woman. And then there were literally, Amy Tan wrote about what you can do not to fall down as you age. And she took it very literally. And then, fallen is failure. A lot of women talked about not meeting what goals they had set for them by their parents or goals they had set for them by themselves. Again, what script that they're following and needing to change that script. So it offered a lot of room for women to find their fallen selves. And of course, all of the stories are then how you rise.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and how you maybe rescript.
Yes, exactly.
And I am fascinated with storylines that we may or may not know that we're a part of.
Mhm.
And I love how your essays question into those storylines.
Well, yeah, and this is because we as I hope we'll be talking about, that there are, just like families, there are families that we're given and there are families that we make. And there are stories that were handed, and then there were stories that we revise or we dismantle or we flip over, and that but they deserve almost a kind of I think, especially in women's lives, but men too, a kind of reverse engineering. It's like, okay, here's the happy ending, but let's reverse engineer how we get to this so-called happy ending to see whether it's what we actually want.
And it seems to me that the falling aspect is sort of the judgment in some ways of, well, you didn't follow the script.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So because you didn't follow the script, you are now outside the script and have fallen, or maybe that was part of the script that you're supposed to fall at some point. And it just seems to me that the pausing and being able to reflect by looking at all these essays allows us to see, oh, yeah, that is what I want, and can I do a reverse engineering? And I think part of that is discovering what you want, right?
Well, yeah, and what you want different from what you've been told is desirable.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's a very big moment when you hear that, let's think about women's literature just for a minute. I mean, my day job is as an English teacher at the University of Connecticut, and a writer about, studied women's novels for 110 years. And that, the happy ending for women is marriage.
Right.
But that, it's
Cinderella got the prince.
But it's the idea that women's stories end in marriage. Like, that's the end.
You're done now.
You're done now.
Okay. Now let's go on to someone else.
Right. And that marriage for men, if it shows up at all in the masculine narrative, is a detail. It is certainly not the happy ending. Getting the girl
almost an obligation.
Oh, yeah. I mean, getting the girl is part of the male story. It is not the happy ending of the male story. It is on the way to larger quest narratives where all the girl is supposed to want is to get some poor bastard to buy her a ring and put it on her finger and
put a ring on it.
Yeah, exactly. Put a ring on it and stay home and then make sure she separates, the dainty, the dainty wash from the heavy duty wash. It's no way for an adult to go through life. And it was, Betty Friedan in The Feminine Mystique who talked about this half a century ago. Or a little bit more now. But it's still a struggle. I have to tell you, I mean, I have students who are smart, bright, ambitious. And I had one young woman not that long ago who was getting married the week after she graduated. And I said, okay, that's, good for you. This is a choice, right? And I said, why though? Why are you getting married right after you graduate? And she said, I just want to stop thinking about relationships.
Oh my.
I said, really? Because you are going from the frying pan into the fire. It is like you think you stop thinking about
Yeah.
relationships when you get married. But
Yeah.
in a way, every narrative she grew up watching would indicate that.
Wow. And Gina, because of my background in theology, I keep thinking back to the principal of Marin Catholic School came into the teacher's room one morning and said, just tell them it's a story. It's a story. It's a story. There's freedom in that. And what I'm hearing is there's a lot of stories and she was talking about the Bible. And then there's a lot of stories about the stories that mess us up, has messed things up and not been fair.
I also think that we start to question into the story when it's become too painful. And when you have that, it's like, wait a minute, this isn't working for me. Why isn't it working for me? And what is my joy? That the want is the joy, and I'm not feeling joy right now. What does that look like, and how can we use that?
I think that that's a fascinating question. Although I wonder if I think it's I'm not going to even make it general. I know it took me a very long time to get to the point where I just didn't assume without examination that if I was unhappy, it couldn't be because I wasn't fitting into the story didn't work for me, but that there was clearly something wrong with me. And because the story seemed to be so strong, you acquire this, you feel this, you get used to this, you achieve this, that it's like you get that and you go, well, I still feel incomplete. I still feel wrong. I still feel like I didn't get the love that I needed. I thought this would come with some kind of bonus, like I would feel good about myself, like maybe there would be self-esteem. And you realize that the story is incorrect, that this is a false set of promises. This is, you didn't read the ingredient label and you didn't read the disclaimer that says, what is the disclaimer? It may not work. Your results may vary, right? Your results may vary. It's like, wait a minute. I did all this stuff.
I followed the recipe.
Right. And your results may vary because you come out of an entirely different, swamp. And you do not, again, talking about with Rick, talking about you come out of the whatever theological backdrop your family gave you, whatever ideas about what's right and good, and what not only your family wants from you, but what your idea of a God wants from you, what counts as moral, what counts as proper, what counts as appropriate. And then you realize that it's like, wait, can I get, what are the original citations for this?
I'd like to go to the source material.
Yeah, exactly. What's the source? Exactly. I'd like the source. Can I get the studies that say, as long as I'm married by 27, I'll be happy? Because
I keep looking at the back of the book and they're not there.
Yeah. It's nothing like, can I speak to a manager? Because this is not
this isn't working. Well, I do have to move us into the next segment, but it seems to me, and this is just my own conjecture, that laughter helps in that reframing. Laughter helps in the recognition. Laughter helps in being able to, question into it. But we'll talk more. Got to take a break. Got to listen to some great commercials, and we'll be right back after a few short commercials.
End-of-life decisions are not easy to make. Hi, I'm Mary T. of Mary T. Hospice Care. It's important to make sure that this difficult time is meaningful and comforting to you and your loved ones. Our hospice team provides an individualized program of physical, emotional, spiritual, and practical care so your loved one is comfortable and not in pain. At Mary T. Hospice, we understand that choosing the right hospice care provider can be overwhelming, but we're here to assist you. Learn more today at marytinc.com.
Did you know Ghostbox Radio with Greg Bakken airs 5 nights a week at 10 p.m.? That's 5 nights of talking about ghosts, ufology, Bigfoot, and so much more. We're talking about the paranormal every Monday through Friday with some of the most trusted names in the field. Join us and step into the unknown with Ghostbox Radio with Greg Bakken, Monday through Friday at 10 p.m. Only if you dare.
Mental health and substance use disorders are complex, stigmatizing, and can be overwhelming issues for families to face. Finding the right diagnosis and care can sometimes feel impossible, especially when you don't know where to start looking. Hazelden Betty Ford understands what your family is going through. Hazelden Betty Ford's patient access team will direct you towards a clear path forward. Network with most insurances. This message is brought to you by Hazelden Betty Ford, the Minnesota Broadcasters Association, and this station.
Would you let animals pick your insurance? Do you really need to experience mayhem to get the best rates? Or how about a celebrity quarterback or fake university saving you money? There's a lot of marketing stunts when it comes to insurance, but what you really need is someone looking out for you. Call Array Insurance, and they will work hard to find you the best insurance coverage and rates. So avoid gimmicks and call Cheryl at Array, 763-504-3067 or arrayinsurance.com. Array Insurance, working hard for you.
Now at Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces, the Morso wood stoves qualify for a 30% tax credit.
Morso wood stoves earned the Nordic Swan Eco Label, Europe's most rigorous environmental standard. Here in the U.S., these Morso wood stoves qualify for the 30% federal tax credit. This is a credit of up to $2,000 off your income tax when you install efficient wood heating. Morso wood stoves are known for elegant Danish design. Made of quality cast iron, this is furniture that radiates heat and warmth. Morso brings the tradition of wood heating into the 21st century.
Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces has been selling wood-burning products since 1977. Morso is an important part of our diverse selection of fireplace products. We want to make fire work for you. Let us show you how Morso wood-burning stoves can work in your home.
Get in touch with the folks at Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces. They are the chimney and installation experts. Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces has over 35 working wood, gas, and electric units on display at the corner of East Franklin and Riverside Avenue in Minneapolis.
Welcome back to Connections Radio Show, where we talk about ideas that matter. And today we're talking about women, culture, stories about us, and finding the humor in discovering our own stories. And Rick Bernardo has been the producer of the show, has been able to hold the show and be able to bring us the ideas that we're talking about today.
I was the producer, past tense. That's all gone now.
Oh, no, you still are.
No, I'm here. Good to see you. And we've got with us Gina Barreca, who's a longtime University of Connecticut professor. She's a well-known best-selling author and humorist, and is a maven on humor and feminism as well. So good morning, Gina.
Hello, and thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And I also want to make sure that folks know how to learn more about you, and they can go to your website, which is ginabarreca.com, and that's GinaBarreca.com.
Thank you.
And I got a quick David Steinberg story about humor and the Bible. And he tells the story of Moses and the burning bush. And this is just me messing up David Steinberg's story, but still. But he's got this conversation with the bush, right? And after he burned his feet and all that. And he goes, but I've got to do all this stuff. Who am I going to say is telling me to do this? And the bush says, tell them I am that I am sent you. And David Steinberg goes, and Moses goes, thanks for clearing that up. Because there's a lot that needs clearing up. Is all of this stuff.
It's all kind of muddy, but finding that pause and laughter, I think, allows us to do a little bit of like, could there be something more here?
Another angle.
Angle. Yeah.
That? And I think that what laughter does, because part of what I've studied for all these years is comedy and humor, and why comedy and humor matter, and why and the ways in which that, first of all, that comedy it's not the same for everybody. It's not. We always have this idea that it's somehow like this big umbrella that we all stand under, and it isn't. There are things that will make some people laugh and other people cry immediately. There are things that people say, I mean, some of the worst emotional violence is done to human beings under the guise of what's the matter, can't you take a joke?
Yes.
Oh, I was just kidding. What's the big deal? I mean, there's real violence and anger and
cruelty.
Cruelty, yes, cruelty is the right word. That poses in that disguise, and that's it's. I think it's like the version of the terrifying clown. You know, it's like, no, this is not your friend. This is somebody who is appearing to be kidding around, but who is actually doing harm to you.
And
But
it should trigger the unfairness muscle in any child or adult.
right, yeah, when somebody says that, and
It's
yeah,
bullying.
it is bullying, and it's also the idea that if you know, we need to learn to allow ourselves to say, no, that's, you know, that's not okay. So my answer to that, which I feel like I should patent or something, is when somebody tells you a joke, or I mean, even one that's not directed at you, but something that you find offensive, something that is outrageous, something that is gone past just being stupid, but is actually malevolent, that to be able to say something, just to comment on it, so that you don't have to live with that kind of thing where you're up all night thinking what I should have said.
Yes.
I should have said this, I should have said that. That just to say to somebody, look, I'll forgive you for telling that story if you forgive me for not laughing.
Oh,
And that you get to register your response. You don't
Right.
have to get into a 4-hour argument. I mean, there are times when the 4-hour arguments are appropriate, but there are times when you can't bring yourself to do it, or the situation doesn't allow it. But just so you register to say, nope,
Yeah.
you know what? I'm calling you on this. And, you know, you forgive me for not laughing. I'll forgive you for telling that.
And it
But-
takes a little bit of the air out of what was just said, too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it should, yeah. If
it-
somebody's not an idiot, it deflates it entirely.
And what it feels like when that happens, you know, it feels like you're stepping out of the order here. you know,
Yes.
and the order is such, and I'm going to be the enforcer of the order so that you get in line. is
Well,
what-
or that it's refusing to give somebody the expected response, which again, in the best of all possible ways, to go back to what you were talking about, Lori, is that it makes them think.
Yeah.
And if somebody is able to do that, it makes them think twice. And
And
it maybe gives them a sense that they have crossed over into, I mean, all humor deals, the best comedy always has dealt with what's taboo. Great comedy, since like Aristophanes onward, has dealt with the stuff that you can't talk about. It deals with sex. It deals with discomfort. It deals
or
with
as Aristophanes, the frogs.
exactly. It deals with the stuff that doesn't fit. So that is what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to shine light on the areas in the culture that are usually remain in the shadows and that usually remain unspoken. But it can be misused to be used as a weapon. But then what we learn how to do is to take, like in a martial art, you take the violence or the bad energy or the stuff that's being used to hurt you, and you turn it around so that it flips over on the aggressor.
It seems to me that there's almost two sides. There's the truth-telling aspect as well as the bullying aspect that tries to take control. And I know, Rick, you've talked a lot about truth-telling in humor.
Well, yeah, and I was going to say, just even before we go into I think humor does touch on a deeper truth in a certain twisted way to get there in a way that here's the key. It's got to feel safe. If you're laughing, you're generally okay. If you're really laughing with other people, you generally love them, for instance. But the onus should really also be, I got to say this as a man of my gender, the onus should be, if it's a man-woman thing, it should be on the men. And this came up with Trump some years ago. Locker room talk? No.
Yeah.
No, it's not with my friends.
That's ugly and wrong.
No,
Yeah.
no. And I also have to sometimes with friends and publicly make a promise that if anything comes up with any friend, man or woman, that I know they wouldn't like, and they're not in the room with me, I will say something. I will stand up for anybody when they're not around. That's just what it comes down to. And anybody with integrity should do that.
That's absolutely you should write that down and put that on a t-shirt, because I think it's right. It's the idea that even if they're not, just what you said, even if they're not there, that this is the stuff. It's not a free for all.
Yeah.
Humor.
And it's not okay to just let it go, right?
Yeah.
We'll
Right.
just let it go. It's
Yeah.
I
No,
don't want to create a drama, just let it go. I don't believe it. But it is by not saying something a tacit agreement.
Exactly. And so that's exactly. So that if somebody, again, we're all white people here, but if somebody's telling a racist joke, it's like, no,
Same thing.
who are you to say this? Are you out of your mind?
I have said a number of times, I've got friends who would not like that, and I don't like it.
Yeah.
So it's more like, I'm not saying you did the wrong thing. I'm saying, here's the reaction.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of amounts to the same thing, but
Yeah. But I think and it's not being the humor police.
Right.
And that's what's important too. It's not being the humor police. It's just saying, again, like for me, that's why that line works. It's like, it's not funny.
Yeah.
You're wrong. It's not
Right.
funny.
Sorry. I'm just going to be honest.
Yeah.
But with that, I need to take us to a break again. But I'm excited about our next segment where we're going to continue to talk about humor and the power of story and our own story and what does that look like. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
It's time to experience the amazing flavors of eatlocalminnesota.com. It's your key to unlocking the best local and independently owned restaurants in the Twin Cities. Latunji's Palette is celebrating over 5 years in business. At Latunji's Palette, you'll feel the connection of food and community. Located at 1400 Park Avenue South, you'll find a delicious selection of gourmet pastries, sandwiches, and drinks. Plus, look for their famous peach cobbler and other gourmet goodies at Eastside Food Co-op, Hy-Vee, Lunds and Byerly's, North Market, and more. Built with purpose, fortified with love. That's Latunji's Palette. If you're craving barbecue, then don't drive too fast or you will miss Scott Jamama's Hot Barbecue, located at 3 West Diamond Lake Road in Minneapolis. Scott Jamama's offers mouth-watering baby back ribs, grilled chicken, and half-pound pulled pork sandwiches. The potato salad, spicy baked beans, and twice-baked potatoes should not be missed. More details at scottjamamas.com.
Next time on Philosophy Talk, referring to the world.
In December 2019, our dear friend Ken Taylor announced that he had a complete draft of a book he'd been writing for years.
Tragically and unexpectedly, Ken passed away later that day.
But thanks to a group of dedicated colleagues, his book has just been published.
So join us as we refer to the world of Ken's ideas.
Referring to the world, next time on Philosophy Talk.
Philosophy Talk, every Sunday at 8 a.m. on AM 950.
Hi, this is Frank Brown, owner of Minuteman Press Uptown, Minnesota's only minority-owned union printing company. We have big news. We've moved to North Minneapolis.
Why did you move?
As a Black business owner, I wanted to be part of the North Minneapolis community to provide jobs.
Are there other reasons you moved there?
We have bigger new equipment and outgrew the other location.
What kind of new equipment do you have?
We have new equipment that allows us to print quality signage and banners. We also have a new inkjet printer, printing larger sheets, improving production efficiencies.
Is the new location easy to find?
It's not only easy to find, it's more convenient with plenty of parking. We are now located on Washington Avenue North off I-94 and the Dowling exit.
So do you still print everything?
We print more than everything. We have over 175 Google reviews with a 5-star rating. Call 612-870-0777 or visit mpuptown.com. That's mpuptown.com. We print everything.
This is Angela Warner for Warner Stellian, and I don't know about you, but I'm not the most patient person. Waiting for something once I've decided on it is really hard. So why wait for Black Friday to score up to 50% off appliances? Warner Stellian is guaranteeing Black Friday prices now, so you can finally replace that almost broken dishwasher with free installation on top brands. You can upgrade to that bigger fridge and faster stove and take 2 years to pay with your Warner Stellian card. Shop now at warnerstellian.com.
If the statistics say that 1 in 3 Native women and 1 in 6 Native men have experienced sexual assault in their lifetime, it means our whole community is affected by sexual violence. 1 is too many. Don't stand by, stand up. Don't engage in acts of sexual violence, and shut down the dirty jokes, the gossip, the victim blaming and shaming. As a community, we can change the way we respond. Contact the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition to attend a workshop to learn more.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
ATNF AM 950, St. Louis Park, Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Welcome back to Connections Radio Show, where we talk about ideas that matter. I'm Lori Fitz, your host, and Rick Bernardo has created this lovely show today, brought everything together. Thank you, Rick, for all the work that you do on these shows. And you've got a tremendous guest joining us.
We have a tremendous guest, and her name is Gina Barreca. She's a University of Connecticut professor for many years, well-known best-selling author, humorist, feminist, and written her most recent Fast Women series book called Fast Fallen Women. And hi, Gina. Good morning.
Hi. Thank you for having me. I'm so happy with this conversation. I wanted to keep going.
I do too.
And I wanted to just let you know, since our last broadcast, we were talking about comedy, and we mentioned Quincy Jones had said he thought a big laugh is really a loud noise from the soul, saying, "Ain't that the truth?"
Yeah.
Which has to which rings a bell with me big time. But I also found another one from Will Durst. Sorry, these are both men. But
you're a guy too, so it's okay.
I will. Yeah. Well, I'll dig deeper. But Will Durst is for many years in the San Francisco Bay Area comedian. But he said comedy is a form of defiance. It can be a snort of contempt in the face of fear and anxiety, and it's the laughter that allows us hope to creep back in on the inhale.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
And our show, if you have just joined us, I encourage you to go back and listen to the first 2 segments. You can do that by going to am950radio.com. And we've been talking about women, culture, the stories about us. Finding, using, and addressing humor, I think, has been part of our conversation.
Humor.
Yeah, as we discovered. Is that you're addressing? I am
addressing.
I like that. You're addressing.
It has a P.O. box too, but that's different.
So,
yeah, go for it.
I was going to say we left off right before the break on the importance of laughter, and I take it as is like a personal mission in my life, is that laughter is not laughter. Mark Twain said, against against laughter, no tyranny can stand.
Oh,
and that the idea that laughter drives away fear. Somebody who is laughing is not afraid. That it's like they can't exist simultaneously. I mean, because we're talking about real laughter. We're talking about the sort of, not the weird nervous giggling or the manufactured performative laughter, but the real laughter, the Quincy Jones lines and the lines you were just saying, it's like the stuff that does come from the heart, from the gut. It's your body's reaction to something, and it is about freedom. It's a refusal to be contained. That it's one of the reasons that hysteria, if we're going to go back to the idea of hysteria, from Greek, the wandering womb, they were such fun, the Greeks. And, but it's the idea that things are out of place, but people do, and not just women, although women being allowed, as we are, to display our emotions more publicly than men. Not that we have them. Men have their own emotions, but women have been encouraged to display them more publicly. But the hysteria will go from weeping to laughter in a second, in a breath. Sure. That it's not only because something is funny, but because something moves you so deeply.
And speaking of so once we're in that emotional space, we're in a deeper space for which there really aren't words at that point. There's a language going on beyond the words, and it has to do with a piece of, I would say, joy, but also trust is happening somewhere if we're really laughing with somebody. But recently on Facebook, Gina, you had seen and said you had seen the documentary on Fred Rogers, and we want to talk about that because there's so much moving and also inspiring things going on with the conversation you're having with people. So let's first, we want to play just 30 seconds from the documentary about Fred Rogers called "Won't You Be My Neighbor?"
It's an invitation. It's an invitation for somebody to be close to you. The greatest thing that we can do is to help somebody know that they're loved and capable of loving. Won't you please, please won't you be my neighbor?
That was Mr. Rogers.
And I want to start crying now. Okay, I'm just going to start crying now.
I haven't not seen that yet, and I have to. I actually didn't grow up on Fred Rogers. I was just a little bit after or before. No, before.
No, a little after. Right. Both of us were a little after.
After, but because I was born before. That gets confusing.
It is. But we were old. We were too old to be watching it.
Me too. Me too. I did not watch him.
You didn't watch him either?
But I've been a fan ever since. This was ministry for him. This was something sacred on what you do for other people.
And my brother, who's 5 years younger, watched him. So I would watch in conjunction with him watching and seeing how it calmed him down. I mean, this was a wild child. You put on Mr. Neighbors and Mr. Rogers, and you went to the little happy place.
It to me again. I had also, like you, I'm 66, so I had never grown up. I'd never been put in front of the TV where I could watch Mr. Rogers. But watching this documentary, which took him from, it's really a documentary about media, about TV, and about actually taking it back to what we're doing here, about your show, about connections, because that's what he made. And he did it, his audience, the sort of shocking or for those days, but the unique part of him was that his audience was children and that he took children seriously. He treated them with respect. He didn't just have things blowing up. I mean, I grew up loving, I have to say, and watching Bugs Bunny and all of those cartoons, and Roadrunner going off the cliff and only when he realizes
and the coyote kind of.
Right, exactly. So and I learned a lot of life lessons from those. So but Mr. Rogers, what was overwhelming for me was the sense of what Mr. Rogers was doing in the clips where it was the early 60s and where he was getting funding to put these programs on, that they were so radical in treating children like human beings,
right?
Not just
and dealing with very serious subjects.
Absolutely.
I mean, I remember even as a kid watching with my brother, dealing with a child that had a terminal cancer,
right?
And being able to share about what that little girl was going through, and
right.
Like, wow.
Absolutely. He had a child. There was a clip of him with a boy who was probably 6 or 7 in a wheelchair.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. And he was all about, like, you're perfect as you are.
Yes.
You are perfect as you. I just, again, I lost it. And I thought, why can't, this is what I've been wanting someone to say to me. It's like, we love you as you are. And like,
and
not
Mr.
line.
And Mr. Rogers honors him so much by saying, I bet you've got some hard days. And the little boy goes, but I'm feeling great now.
Yeah.
In that moment.
Oh, that'll make you cry.
Yeah, but it was not, however, and this is such a hard thing to do, not in a way that was sentimental or melodramatic.
Right.
There was nothing in a way, this is something all about how important individual people's emotional lives are, that has nothing to do with narcissism.
Right.
I mean, like, that's some kind of magic, because
Well,
this
it's
isn't
absolute empathy and
Yeah.
teaching empathy.
Yeah.
You know, this is how you honor each other. And even going into the little kingdom and the little story that they would tell, you know, that sort of reflected on whatever the life lesson was in that. But you never felt like it was a life lesson. You just felt like you were just with Mr. Rogers.
No, I would,
yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to just one thing. I would suggest that for all of us, there's a place in our future and in our hearts where the Presbyterian minister Fred Buechner, and by the way, Fred Rogers was a Presbyterian minister too, but Buechner says the place where God calls you is the place where your own deep gladness and the world's deep hunger meet.
Oh.
And I love aiming for those crossroads.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But this comes up because it's not selfish. It's both. It's everything. It serves everybody.
And it's about service.
Yeah.
And it's
There's
also
power in
it's also about the again, the sense of making connections that are between parts. I mean, one of the things that is so crucial is understanding that joy and despair, and that the most miserable thing that you go through can eventually become your funniest story.
Yeah.
And that doesn't undercut the misery that you actually went through. That to make a funny story, it honors it. It transforms it. It is what you get. Again, you get to redeem, if we're going to talk about it in sort of theological or but you get to redeem it the way you get your money back on a deposit on a bottle. But you get to redeem the experience. Like, this thing happened to you, but if you make a story out of it that's yours and you can retell it, it's not something that was done to you by the universe. It's a story that is yours, that you have control over it, and you can tell it in your way. And if you can make yourself and somebody laugh, to see the ironies, the dissonance,
absurdities,
right?
Yeah.
Then it gets you back your deposit on that original thing that you gave to the world, right?
Yeah.
And I do think it's part of it is being able to hold it differently, being able to hold the pain, not dismiss the pain,
right?
To hold the pain and hold the joy. And how do you do both? And again, we have to go to break, but
we'll
be back because there's more to talk about. And thank you for your insights. I also want to make sure that the audience knows how to get to learn more about you. And that's GinaBarreca.com. And that's GinaBarreca.com. And we'll be right back.
I love my Toyota vehicles, so when I have to get service done, there's only one place I go, Rudy Luther Toyota. They know Toyotas inside and out. It starts with them checking your alignment and tire treads with their Hunter Quick Check Drive inspection service. Oil changes, tires, batteries, wipers, no matter what you need done, they can help you with reliable Toyota parts and the best service team in Minnesota. Check out their website, RudyLutherToyota.com, for service and parts specials just for Toyota vehicles. Get your Toyota serviced at Rudy Luther Toyota, 394 and 169 in Golden Valley.
I'm the host of Exploring Sovereignty with Elizabeth. In this radio show and podcast, we have conversations with heart-centered thought leaders to explore their pathway to becoming free, and we will shine a light on what has been hidden, often in plain sight, what they pay attention to, and how it has transformed them and others into a higher level thinking and feeling state during this time of great change. Explore being consciously aware, authentically free, and courageously sovereign with us. Sundays at 11 a.m. on AM 950, and check out our early release episodes that drop Thursdays on your favorite podcast apps.
Hi, I'm Mary T, inviting you to experience our integrative Mary T Health and Wellness Center, offering physical, occupational, speech, and lymphedema therapies. Experience our guided imagery, meditation, Tibetan medicine, dry needling, massage services, including cupping and oncology massage. Sign up for our free wellness screenings and learn more at marytwellness.com. All major health insurance providers are accepted. Come for therapy, experience wellness.
Hi, it's Freddie Bell, host of New Beginnings, heard every Saturday at 11 a.m. right here on AM 950. Each week, I bring you timely information on finances, AARP updates, Minnesota Department of Health information, what's going on around our area, a spiritual message, my words to the wise, history notes, and more. So tune in this Saturday at 11 a.m. for New Beginnings with me, Freddie Bell. I'll see you then.
Get a head start on your holiday shopping at Next Chapter Booksellers. Black Friday is just around the corner, and Next Chapter Booksellers has the perfect gift ideas. Books make for easy, thoughtful gifts that are a breeze to wrap and ship. Their friendly staff excels at offering recommendations for all ages and preferences. Explore their wide selection of puzzles and games for interactive family fun. And if you're still stumped, then try a Next Chapter Booksellers gift card. That's Next Chapter Booksellers in St. Paul, your destination for easy-to-give gifts.
I'm Candy Brothel. I'm Elizabeth Sullivan.
And I'm Kelly Wagner.
Energize yourself with AM 950's Sunday Shine Radio from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Sunday Shine Radio radiates wellness, consciousness, and curiosity.
Join me, Candy Brothel, for Green Tea Conversations at 10 a.m.
Exploring Sovereignty with Elizabeth at 11 a.m.
And the Being Curious Show at noon.
Our lineup focuses on igniting your own self-discovery and personal wellness.
Tune in every Sunday for Sunday Shine Radio from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m.
And let us guide you on an inspirational journey each week.
Welcome back to Connections Radio Show, where we've been talking about women and culture and humor and the power of and discovery and all those wonderful things that give us a hint and perhaps indication of what is our own story and how do we shape that. And thank you, Rick Bernardo, who is my co-host and producer of this show.
Good morning. And we have with us Gina Barreca. Her website, by the way, Gina, Gina, and Barreca is spelled with two R's, Barreca, Barreca.com. That's her website. You can see all about her as a UConn professor and author.
Welcome, Gina.
Hi.
We could do this all day. And just have
this is so much fun.
Yes.
So, I mean, can we go back to the idea of how humor is redemptive and how humor, in fact, my husband and I just rewatched The Name of the Rose. Remember the old movie with Sean Connery and Christian Slater? And it's a book that I teach. It's Umberto Eco. And the plot, in case people don't remember it, and it's like 600 pages, so you don't have to go back and reread it. And the movie's okay, but it doesn't hold up as well as it should. I can also say that. But the book is amazing because it's a bunch of monks in the 13th centuries during the Inquisition. Always a fun time. And in fact, everybody did.
Dark Ages were lots of fun.
Yeah. But everybody did expect the Spanish Inquisition. They had to give you 2 weeks notice. So unlike Monty Python, they really did have to let you know they were coming. But there's a monk who, because the Aristotle, we have the book on tragedy, but we don't have the book on comedy. Mm-hmm. And there's a monk who's head of the monastery who believes that laughter is the devil's work. Oh. And so ends up killing everybody. Any of the priests, the copiers, because they are copying old manuscripts, who laugh, because some of the copiers and the artists, they put little funny drawings in the pages. And it's the idea that somehow laughter is unholy, where I think if we go back to like Erasmus and In Praise of Follow, if we go back to early versions of religion and worship, and just the idea of reaffirming, why we're here and what our business is on this planet. It's got to be about joy. Yes. And joy has to include laughing at ourselves, at those, again, as we said, the absurdities around us. Because if you don't do that, then why bother? I mean, it would be like eating tasteless food. You could exist, but like the beauty of it.
It strikes me when you're saying that the monk that didn't believe humor had a place, and
right.
It strikes there was a lot of threat there to humor.
Yeah.
The threat of humor perhaps was being able to question into things and
Exactly.
being able, to claim something different. And
Well,
without
and that
humor,
again, going back to that line from Twain of, that against tyranny, against laughter, tyranny cannot stand. And also, there was a 19th century woman writer who I really like, a columnist named Agnes Reppeler, who said that only you can't be afraid of what directing humor against those in power or against institutions, because only false gods are laughed off their pedestals.
I
Right?
just got
It's a great line.
how could there be anything wrong with wanting to share joy with people? It's just sort of like a inherently definition thing.
it's kind of a big Debbie Downer.
That's right. Yeah.
No, I'm going to go over here with these people now. Thank you.
Yeah, and Rachel Dratch, who started Debbie Downer, is a friend of mine.
Oh, is she?
Yeah, from Saturday Night Live.
I
She's
love
a-
her.
yeah,
I love her.
she's
Tell her
terrible.
I'm one of her biggest fans. I love her.
Okay. But it's but the people who bring humor into our lives, I don't think that there's a particular sainthood dedicated to them, but there should be.
There should be. And we're down to like less than a minute left in our show. And I just wanted to make sure that I thank you so much for taking time in the morning and, just giving us your ideas. You're fascinating. The books that you write are fascinating. And thank you. Thank you for all you do.
Go see those books on ginabareka.com website. There's all kinds. They're beautiful.
They're beautiful.
They're funny and meaningful,
And Jean, I'll put you on the spot again. We're going to want to have you come back again.
Oh, please. What a great way to start a Saturday. This is fabulous.
Well, we love your insights, and you get us thinking and you get us laughing. And I think that's the best way to start a day, don't you?
Absolutely.
And thank you to the audience that joined us today. We look forward to having you join us next week here on AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota, on the Connections Radio Show.
This is Robert Pilot of Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, weekdays at 5 p.m. On our show, you'll hear about Native issues like treaties, protecting Mother Earth, and holding our elected officials accountable.
Hey, Gina, can you hear us?
Like Dr. Stacey, Senator
Nope,
Mary
because the
Kunesh,
radio's still on.
Robert Lilligren.
Hey, Gina, can you hear us?
I can.
Oh, good. Thank you so much. I thought that was a fun show.
I thought it was wonderful. You both make it so easy. It's such a treat. I'm absolutely, I'm honored.
Well, you make it a treat as well, because you take what we lead up to and then you take it to another level and a new place,
Well,
which is great fun.
I'm really grateful. And thanks for letting me jump in and talk over and do all of those things you're not supposed to do on radio.
No. That's our story here. That's our storyline. That's what we aim for. We want this to be a conversation.
Well, and it really is. You really make it exactly that. And it's just a delight.
I think a show has done well when it feels like